Okay, so I hear a new fear has been unlocked, and people are freaking out about ports being empty and the shelves will be empty. I understand how scary this was because I went through this exact same fear in 2020. That's right, we are repeating historical bingo. We're not even going very far into the history. All right, full disclosure, I have not looked into this. I cannot say with any sort of authority what is happening. This is purely an intuitive take, and it's my personal wisdom as someone who has been through this fear and what I worked through. So do your own research, find credible sources, and if you want to take my advice, take it. If you don't, that's fine. Do you remember when this happened in 2020? With the strikes of the longshoremen. Was it the longshoremen? There was some sort of strike going on, particularly in the Port of Long Beach, I believe Port of Los Angeles, Southern California, somewhere in there. And the ships were coming in, but they were offshore because the unions weren't allowing them to be brought on board and the goods brought on board. So we were totally backed up. Shelves were looking quite empty. It was hard to get things. Remember, there were massive supply chain issues that happened. I remember in particular, my mother-in-law was really freaking out because at some point she had heard, or someone had said, or maybe she just assumed, that one of those shipping containers has toilet paper and we were about to lose our toilet paper all over again. Now, just like my mother-in-law, this situation feels terrifying, not just because if this is true, it would be bad, but because we've been here before. We're revisiting our old traumas. But me, I'm sitting here looking at this going, aha, I've been through this trauma before. I worked through my fear of famine and having no food. And what am I going to provide for the children? I've been through this. And I realized in working through that fear those years ago, this was related to things that were so much bigger. It was related to traumas where I had lost my job and my husband had lost our job and we were struggling without money. It was related to ancestral traumas where the farm had not survived, where we were not doing well, the Irish famine. And it was also related to some past lives because I've been through some gnarly shit, like we all have. So that's helpful to remember when you hear something that sends you into a panic. It's not because you suck and you can't cope, and it's not because it's inevitable and we're all going to die. It's because all of our past fears and traumas are being re-triggered. And when we use the tools, go through our steps, ground ourselves, calm our nervous system, use the shadow work to go deeper, heal those deeper layers, we can face whatever situation we have with a sense of grounded rationality. Because here's the thing. Like I said, I don't know what's going on. I haven't looked into it. But what I do know is no one wants anyone to starve, okay? No one wants anyone to suffer. There are some politicians, some assholes out there who are digging in their heels and acting like a tough guy, and they're not going to move. This will not win. They're not going to have starving populations on their hands. This will not happen. Now, could this lead to some delays and some supply chain kerfufflement? Yeah, absolutely. But we've been through this in 2020. We've been through this. There were some shortages. It was a little frustrating, uncomfortable, but nobody really suffered. Remember? This also, by the way, I'm just reminded, this is going through trauma of previous wars where there were shortages and you couldn't get things. And something else Spirit has told me is that part of historical bingo, we need to remember it's not just what happened here in the United States, it's what is happening and has happened around the world. And part of the reason that so many atrocities happen around the world and other countries kind of don't even bat an eye is because we've divorced ourselves from what's happening out there. We see them as separate. We see them as experiencing the consequences of their own actions. But when we now are faced with a fear of what happens when a government doesn't provide for its people, we are now woken up. And we're forced to start thinking about those things. And what it does is it opens our hearts in compassion to start thinking about the human family and what all has been suffered that was entirely preventable. That did not need to happen, that does still not need to happen. And that is the spiritual purpose in all of this, to bring about unity, to bring about the healing of the past so we can face the challenges of the present and say, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. And while we're at it, let's make it better for everyone everywhere, because this is some absolute nonsense. So even though everyone's real mad about the tariffs and it's causing an uproar everywhere, businesses want to sell their goods. Companies need goods to sell. We are a capitalist society, and it is not going to go up in flames like that. Now, Spirit has said there would be disruptions in our financial systems, in, well, every system really, and capitalism is one of those. But Spirit has also said that nothing will implode instantaneously. We're not going back to the dark ages. We're going to have some discomfort. We're going to have some bumps. We're going to have some fireworks. And it will force people to compromise, to work together, to do things differently. This is how we change our systems. And it doesn't mean we won't get uncomfortable, but it also does not mean that we're going to suffer, that we're going to devolve into chaos, that everything has gone to shit and will never be okay again. And speaking of capitalism, this could be a fantastic opportunity to get us to rethink our overconsumption of goods. Yeah. I've heard from a lot of people that all the DEI strikes have already got us in that direction. We don't need half the shit we've been buying. And we buy stuff, I mean, maybe it's like hunter-gatherer instinct, maybe it's like dopamine finding, maybe it's just habit. I don't know. It certainly is American culture. It's what we do. And so as we have these disruptions and these pattern interrupters, it gets us to stop doing things the way they've always been done, gets us to reconsider our habits and patterns, and this is what it means by systems collapsing, systems crumbling. Suddenly that system comes to a screeching halt and we have an opportunity to do things differently. And I just heard Spirit say, that's how the light gets in. The system does not have to completely collapse and go down in flames, up in flames, down in flames. Doesn't have to do that. But we need some cracking so the light can come in, so we can have revelations that the system is broken. Things are not going well. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do it this way, period. So let's try something else. Remember, your perception shapes your reality. And we may not be able to solve everything happening out there, but we must gain control of our perception and our narrative. We have to learn how to start steering and shaping our reality, because that is fifth dimensional reality. That's New Earth living. We don't wait for a fairy godmother to wave a wand and fix it. We fix it ourselves. And part of that is allowing our perceptions to shift and doing the hard work to wrestle our fear, wrestle our panic, change our perspective ourselves, and find a new way of doing things. Because I'm going to tell you what else. Our ancestors have survived. They've survived much worse than this. Much worse than this. Yeah. With fewer technologies and less unity to help them get through it. We're not repeating the past. We're learning from it. We're healing. We're going to fix it. Is it bumpy? Yep. Could it get bumpier? Yep. But we're going to be okay. We're going to fix it. And it's going to be even better than it ever was before. So just be calm. We're going to get through it.